Welcome back to the kitchen, everyone. I hope you're having a good day. Now, have you been stuck making the same potato dish over and over again at home? And I'm talking sauté potatoes. So here, sauté potatoes with mushroom, bacon and onion, or one of the combination. This is something we all do and it can get a bit old, but there's a light at the end of the tunnel, because today we're going to be learning how you can use two extra simple ingredients and transform that base into something really different, really tasty, and something that is out of the ordinary. Let's discover this together. Let's go. Let's begin. So today we're not gonna reinvent the wheel. We're gonna stay in comfortable territories, sauteing potatoes with some mushrooms, some bacon and onions to start with. Okay, so the first question out of the way, what potatoes should you be using for this? I'm using Dutch cream. This is what they call. They are a type of all-round potatoes. Now, all-round potatoes are marketed as potatoes that can be used for everything. I like to call them, jack of all trades, master of none. Yes, they can do a mash, they can do fries, they can do roasted potatoes, but they're not going to be really excelling at anything. My favorite use for all-round potatoes, first, is to use the yellow flesh version. They have a bit of that nutty flavor, and they're great for sauté potatoes, for bakes, so if you want to make a potato gratin, or for boiling. That means you want to cook them in a sauce for anything like a Navarre en Vlem, a ragout, a stew, anything like this. You can plunge them in a sauce and cook them in a sauce. They're gonna stay whole when they boil. They're not falling apart. So that's great. For the rest, classic smoked bacon, mushrooms. You can use the chestnut style, the brown mushrooms, or the white ones here, and some onions. The measurement, I will give you this in the recipe. It's up to you. If you want more mushroom or more bacon, you can vary the level. It's not a problem. But this is the base. The question is, how are we going to transform this? Well, just by adding two simple little things. So when you want to change an existing dish, you want to take it to new height, you want to make it really a bit special, the best thing to do, like I'm doing at the moment, use something like the Flavor Bible. Is going to help you to see what kind of flavor match, what is the good pairing. Here, I wanted something that matched well with potatoes and mushroom, and this is what I found. Olives and tarragon. That is going to transform our dish. Olives is a great partner for potatoes. They really add some dimension and new texture, some acidity with very, very slight bitterness. And the tarragon is a perfect match for mushrooms. And this is something we've seen in the chicken chasseur, for instance. So just adding these two extra ingredients, we're not doing anything complicated. I'm going to steer this through towards the end and really boost the flavor and transform that classic old dish into something that you could expect almost to be found in a restaurant. Now today, for our sauté potatoes, we're going to be exclusively using carbon steel and steel pans, such as this one. Now, steel pans works on every heat source, and they're great for searing. This is what they do. They can take a beating, they can go in the oven. But the only problem when you buy one is that they need to be seasoned. Every manufacturer will tell you, yeah, they're pre-seasoned, meaning that they should be naturally non-stick from day one. But there is a very thin layer, and once you cooked once with it, you need to go for that big song and dance and watch all this video about seasoning your pans. And that can take a heck of a long time. And I think this is one of the things that stops people from using steel pan. Thankfully today, I want to show you something new. So yeah, seasoning can be a bit of a pain, but can a cookware company change that? I'm starting to think so with this pan. Now this is a pan, I've made a short of it, it's been sent to me by two engineers in Holland. They just started a cookware company called Bear Cookware, it's a startup, and they do knives, but they also do carbon steel pans and trays. And I was intrigued by their carbon steel pan because out of the box, label as pre-seasoned, this is what I got. It's totally black, totally look like it's been pre-seasoned for years, and to be honest, I did not have to season that pan at all, but we're going to be using it and see how it works. Let's begin with the potatoes. So like all steel pan, you need to preheat them. So here I'm going to be using a really high heat, 1 or 2 tablespoons of oil in here. And you really want to warm up your oil before you put the potatoes in. Once your oil kind of flows like water, you can see that? See, it's almost like a water consistency. Typically, it's enough. We're going to put the potatoes. You can cut them any way you want. I'm doing this kind of simple quarters like that, and it's fine. Now, this technique is called sauté à cru. So we have raw potatoes, and we're going to first work on getting some color on the outside and reduce the heat, and then continue to cook them. The whole process can take a good 25 minutes. Seasoning You can put salt and pepper. I'm using a fleur de sel with an herbe de Provence mixture. And I'm going to be very gentle on the seasoning because you don't want to oversalt your preparation. So 1 or 2 pinches of this coarse fleur de sel here. That's going to be enough. A bit of a shake. Okay, and there we go. We're going to do some coloring. A few minutes. Now I did say a few minutes, but it's more like 10 to 12 minutes. After 10 to 12 minutes on high heat, shaking the pan, you're gonna reach that kind of little coloring. If your steel pan is performing and it's not sticking, make sure the seasoning is right, okay? When you reach that stage, you're gonna reduce your heat to medium, put this on the side of the stove or the burner, and leave it to cook gently because raw potatoes take time to cook. So we're gonna need another at least 15 minutes, and during that time you'll see the potato is going to naturally start to color more and more as you shake them. So you don't have to worry about them being too pale for now. They will color. And in the meantime, we're going to be making the mushrooms and the bacon. For the mushrooms, we're using the other pan. I'm starting with a high heat and I'm waiting for that oil to be like water. It's olive oil, about 1 tablespoon. Perfect. I think our pan is ready. Let's put the mushrooms. A bit of seasoning. I'm going to use just some salt flakes, not too many, and a bit of pepper, some black pepper. If there's not enough oil, if it absorbs, you can use some oil. Some people prefer butter, but for the purpose of just searing like this, I'm just going to leave it like that. Now talking about pans, by the way, keep in mind that you can do all of this with your classic non-stick pan. It will work well, but to be honest, when I'm looking at this and I'm using it, I actually do feel like I'm almost like using a non-stick, except that it's way heavier. But that's the nature of carbon steel. We're done with the mushrooms. What do you think? How did it go? It looks pretty good to me. Let's do some onions. All right, test number 2 with that bare cookware pan. Onions, let's try to caramelize some. I'm using some olive oil. I'm going to put a bit of salt. I'm going to be careful with the heat because I don't want to burn the onions at all. And onions take a long time, at least 10 to 15 minutes to cook. So I'm going to use a rather medium to high heat here. And see if we can go maybe use a spoon to mix them around. Let's get a spoon. So as you can see, nothing at all is burning nor sticking, which is great. And don't forget to shake your potatoes, by the way. Shake from time to time. My onions, I've got some coloring, they're not exactly caramelized, but I've turned my heat off. And now I'm going to add this to the potatoes. So let me show you something important here. So after another 15 minutes or even a bit more, this is what I'm getting. My potatoes are almost cooked. They got a nice coloring, they're not too brown. I'm going to add the onions. Now from that point onwards, if you add the onions in, you want to use only very, like the lowest possible heat to finish to cook your potatoes. Because if your onions burn, everything's going to be bitter. Now if you like, you can put a lid like this, partly cover, and we're going to be doing the bacon, and then after mix everything together and we're going to be done. So we've done the mushrooms, the onions, and now let's try the bacon with this pan. 1 tablespoon of oil should be enough. And let's see if we can sear some meat. See if it's going to stick at all. I'm being a bit harsh here because this is a Dutch style, it's called Kaiserfleisch. It's just a smoked bacon, but it's not cured, so there's a lot of moisture. And when something is wet like this, it can really favor sticking. So we may have a bit of a sticky situation on here, but let's have a look. Perfect, so it's been here for a few minutes. I haven't turned anything. Let's see. There's some little stickiness. Now, how bad is it? Let's take a little knife. Not a big problem. I think, yeah, it's really a normal. There's nothing that kind of fall apart. There's a little bit of stickiness, but to be honest, nothing bad. Bacon has been seared. Looks pretty good to me. Tell me what you think in the comment section. We've been searing 3 things with that pan, and now let's look at the last element, the tarragon and the olives. So for this last ingredient, how do you want to use them? I'm going to be using this in the final minutes. So the tarragon, thinly chopped, is going to be replacing parsley. So towards the end, boom. The sprinkle of tarragon in there, you want to keep it fresh, you don't want to cook it. The same goes for the olives. It's going to be at the end, 1 or 2 tablespoons, and we just want to barely warm the olive up. You don't want to cook the olive, you don't want to cook the tarragon. So now I'm going to mix the bacon, the mushroom, through the potatoes, and finally, we're going to add this. So here are our potatoes. Let's do a quick recap of what we've done. We started on high heat to color the potatoes, medium to medium low to continue to cook the potatoes, all right? And towards the end, very low heat once we add the onion and other ingredients. So once we're here, you've seen this before, there's nothing special. I'm gonna be adding my mushrooms and here the bacon. It's up to you how much you want to add. I'm gonna put everything. Avoid using a spoon as much as we can. We're gonna be using that special pan. It's a conical saute pan, very handy because you can toss things around without using a spoon and breaking stuff. And now for the final touches. Now, due to the unsightly nature of the searing pan, the sear pan I've been used, it is half season. I decided to finish with something a bit more noble and presentable. And this is a saute pan made of copper. So I'm using a medium heat to warm up the whole thing. And all what we're gonna do here is to start by adding some olives. So, you know, 1 or 2 tablespoons, typically black olive is the best, but I've just a mixed olive from the shop, it's fine. And I'm just gonna toss things around like this very gently because it's not as easy with that kind of pan. You know? If you feel like this, you know what? There's maybe not enough olives, you can add some more, it's not a problem. So remember, we're not trying to cook these. So I'm just gonna wait until it warms up, add the tarragon, and then we serve. Tarragon, last minute, it's like parsley. You know, it's really adding some color and that taste of the tarragon. It's an explosion of flavor. We're just gonna shake it in, basically 30 seconds in there, and we're done. So you see, it didn't take much to really elevate these classic standard potatoes to a new level, and I'm gonna finish with just a touch of that fleur de sel. And now, let's dish up and try the potatoes. So let's go rustic with that one. This is out of the pan, like what I had before, and you can see all these ingredients. I added some tarragon leaf on here, and I guess, you know, I'm just gonna dig in. I'm just gonna take a few olives, a piece of bacon in here, and maybe a piece of that, and you know what? Let's do a whole piece of tarragon on here, so how we go. Tarragon, it wakes up the whole thing. And the olive, you can even add a little bit of a touch of acidity with some white balsamic in there, a good quality one. I think it would be great. It's refreshing. I think it's more Mediterranean style, and totally changed from the classic mixture of, you know, onion, bacon, and mushrooms. Great. So what do I think about that classic that I've been revamping here? I've been kind of improvising a little bit, and what I've discovered here is that definitely at the forefront, the star combination is potatoes, mushroom, and tarragon. And I'm gonna adjust the recipe to have more mushrooms and more tarragon. That's the most important. The olives, I'm gonna diminish the amount, I think 2 tablespoons max, because you just want an olive here and there as an element of surprise. If you have too many, it starts to feel like you're just eating some kind of olive dish. The bacon, if you're vegetarian, just ditch the bacon altogether. If you love bacon, same thing. I would tone it down. I think it was too much bacon. You want to keep that star element of, you know, potatoes, mushrooms, and tarragon. I think that's gonna work the best, and the other things in the background, okay? But that's it for the recipe of this week. If you make it, use the comment section as always. And remember, for this guy at Bear Cookware, I'm just trying to help them out. They're just starting. The pan was actually performing really well. There's no seasoning, so give them some love. Check their website. I'll put the link in the video description. And as for me, I will see you next week for another video on the French Cooking Academy. Take care all, bye-bye.